The basement held that particular kind of silence that comes right before something shifts, the moment when molecules rearrange themselves into new configurations, when the air itself seems to hold its fucking breath. Miguel had poured me something amber and dangerous, a Blanton single barrel that caught the overhead lights like liquid fire, and I'd been nursing it for the better part of an hour while Pink Floyd's "Wish You Were Here" bled through the speakers, Gilmore's guitar weeping through every note about absence and longing. "Sing it with me, sweetheart." I'd whispered those words in my Leaf so many years ago, Gizmo's small voice piping up from the back seat, trying to match the melody, and now the memory carved through my chest like rusty fucking wire. The refurbished space glowed warm around me, sunset crimson walls that Della and Miguel had painted over proper primer, sealing away water damage and years of desperation, the clean white ceiling that made the whole goddamn basement feel like something other than a tomb. Kira sat beside me, her presence a steadying weight, her hand occasionally brushing my thigh in that subtle way she had of anchoring me to the present moment without making a production of it. "You nursing that Blanton's like it owes you money, Mom," Miguel said from behind the bar, his sultry childlike voice cutting through my spiral. "Want me to get you something that'll actually fuck you up?" "This is doing the job just fine," I said, taking another sip that burned all the way down. I slapped down some cash for my tab. Della emerged from the kitchen trailing the scent of something magnificent, bacon-wrapped dates stuffed with goat cheese and jalapeno, the kind of thing that made your mouth water and your arteries weep. She'd been experimenting with the new kitchen equipment, her face flushed with heat and satisfaction, grease-stained apron tied around her waist like a badge of fucking honor. Ezra sprawled in their beanbag chair near the stage, blue hair catching the light like neon prayer, thumbing through some dog-eared paperback that looked like it had survived a war. Phoenix and River occupied the corner booth, River still in scrubs from the hospital shift, their nurse's badge clipped to their chest, while Phoenix leaned into them with that particular brand of devotion that comes from choosing your people rather than inheriting them. The ruby ring on Phoenix's finger caught the light, River's promise made solid, a commitment that said, "I see you, I choose you, I'm not going anywhere." Bubba held court at the pool table with Remy, their combined southern wisdom creating a gravitational field that pulled in anyone looking for truth dispensed without sugarcoating. Bubba's deep Georgia drawl mixed with Remy's Cajun-inflected observations, two men who'd survived decades of being other in places that tried to beat the queer out of them, who'd made themselves into monuments of defiant survival. Renee spotted near the bar's edge, her bodybuilder frame making the refurbished furniture look delicate, arms crossed over her chest in that way that said she was thinking hard about something, probably about the straight woman who'd left her bed last week with promises she wouldn't keep. Same fucking story, different chapter. "Fleetwood Mac coming up," Della called out, wiping her hands on her apron. "Landslide," Stevie writing about time passing and everything changing underneath you. Sage sat at a corner table, napkin already in hand, pen moving across the surface in intricate patterns that would probably end up being some profound artistic statement about existence or connection, or the spaces between words. Elaine and Lisa had claimed stools near Miguel, Elaine already 3 drinks deep into whatever rum concoction she was demolishing, her 60-year-old lesbian humor sharp enough to cut glass, while Lisa, farm girl pragmatic and newly out in her 60s, listened with the intensity of someone still learning the language of queer community. "Your ex-girlfriend still texting you?" Elaine said to no one in particular, her voice carrying that specific brand of bitter affection. "Because mine won't stop sending me pictures of her new fucking cat like I give a shit about Mr. Whiskers or whatever the fuck she named it." "At least she's texting you," Lisa said, sipping her beer. "I'm still trying to figure out if I'm supposed to make the first move or wait or what the hell the rules are when you spent 40 years pretending you weren't queer." Fleetwood Mac's Landslide started bleeding through the speakers, Stevie's voice wrapping around the basement like an elegy for time lost and children growing, and I felt something tighten in my chest. That particular anticipation that comes right before your world tilts sideways. The door at the top of the stairs opened. Mary descended first, her movements careful, deliberate, and behind her, Gizmo. 18 years old, and looking so much like the woman I even wanted to be that it physically strong, dark hair pulled back from her face, wearing jeans and a hoodie that probably cost more than my first car, her backpack tucked under one arm like armor. She paused halfway down the stairs, eyes adjusting to the basement light, and I watched her take in the space, the crimson walls, the refurbished bar, the collection of queer misfits who'd become my family in ways my blood never managed. "Holy shit," Ezra said softly. The music seemed to drop away. Every conversation stuttered to silence. Even Della stopped moving in the kitchen doorway, spatula suspended mid-air. Mary caught my eye, her expression careful, hopeful, terrified. She'd been working on this, I realized. Planning this moment, finding the courage to bring our daughter into my world, to bridge the gap that had stretched between us since that Yule night in 2017 when I'd destroyed her trust by finally telling the truth about who I was. "Hi, Giz," I managed, my voice cracking like thin ice. Gizmo descended the last few steps, Mary's hand hovering near her back, not touching, just present. My bestie looked at me with an expression that said, "Please, let's not fuck this up. Please let this be okay. Please let our daughter see how it really is." "Hey, Mom," Gizmo said, and the word hit me like a fist to the solar plexus. Tears started before I could stop them, hot, ugly, unstoppable. Kira's hand found mine under the bar, squeezing once, and I squeezed back hard enough to hurt us both. "God damn it," I whispered, swiping at my face with my free hand. "Fucking hell." "Language, Mom," Miguel said gently, but he was already moving, pulling out glasses, creating busy work to give me a moment to compose myself. Bubba stood from the pool table, cue stick still in hand, and his face split into a grin that transformed his whole stoic demeanor. "Little Giz? That you?" "Bubba!" Gizmo's face lit up, and she crossed the space in 3 strides, launching herself into his arms the way she used to when she was small enough to be lifted. "Holy shit, I haven't seen you in forever." "Watch that mouth," he said, laughing, pulling back to look at her properly. "Look at you, all grown up and everything. You still singing in choir?" "Psych major now," Gizmo said, trying to figure out why people are so fucked up. "Good luck with that," Remy said, materializing beside Bubba with that uncanny Cajun ability to appear exactly when needed. "Ma chère, you tall. Last time I saw you, you were maybe this high." He gestured somewhere around his waist. "You're still selling those cookies you used to bring around?" Mary smiled softly from her position near the stairs, watching Gizmo reconnect with people who'd known her before the world got complicated, before everything fractured into before and after. Renee approached next, her massive frame somehow gentle as she pulled Gizmo into a hug that looked like it could crush ribs. "Hey, kiddo," she ribbed, giving a light tap with her fist across Gizmo's chin. "You still got backbone, kid. Keep it up." "I try," Gizmo said, laughing. I watched this reunion through a film of tears, watched my daughter fold herself back into the arms of people who'd loved her before she had to choose sides, before divorce and transition, and truth made everything impossibly complicated. Miguel slid another drink in front of me, Blanton's again, because he understood that some nights you need consistency more than variety. Rush's Time Stand Still started playing, Geddy Lee singing about wanting to freeze moments before they slip away, and Della emerged from the kitchen with a plate of her bacon-wrapped dates, setting them on the bar within reach. "Eat something, Mom," she said quietly. "You look like you're about to pass the fuck out." Phoenix approached Gizmo with River in tow, their youth creating an interesting mirror. Phoenix at 22, Gizmo at 18, both of them navigating worlds that tried to tell them who they should be instead of celebrating who they were. "I'm Phoenix," they said, extending a hand. "They, them. This is River, my partner." "She, her today," River added with a smile. "Nice to meet you. I've heard a lot about you." "From who?" Gizmo asked, shaking both their hands. Phoenix's expression softened, and they exchanged a knowing glance with River. "Your mom talks about you," they said gently. "Like, a lot. She doesn't just mention you in passing. She lights up. Her whole face changes." River nodded, her voice warm. "It's like listening to someone describe a force of nature. The way she tells it, you're not just surviving out here. You're thriving, building something real." "She talks about you like you hung the stars," Phoenix continued, and there was something almost reverent in their tone. "Like you're proof that good things can still happen in this world, that people can be more than what circumstances tried to make them." They paused, studying Gizmo's face. "She sees something in you that's bigger than all of this, something unbreakable. And the way she talks, it makes everyone else see it too." Gizmo's eyes found mine across the bar, and I saw something shift in her expression. Surprise, maybe, or confusion, or the beginning of understanding that I'd never stopped loving her even when she'd needed distance. "I'm Sage," the napkin artist said from their corner, not standing, just offering a small wave. They, them. "I'm working on something here if you want to see it later. It's about connection across broken things." Gizmo sounded. Elaine swiveled on her bar stool, rum mojito in hand, assessing Gizmo with the sharp-eyed appraisal of someone who'd spent decades reading people. "So you're the famous Gizmo. I'm Elaine, and before you ask, yes, I'm old enough to be your grandmother, and no, I don't give a flying fuck what you think about my drinking habits." "Elaine," Kira said warningly. "What? I'm being friendly," Elaine protested. "Kid needs to know what she's walking into. We're all a wreck in here, honey. Your mom included. Probably especially your mom." "Elaine, you are a buckfutter," I muttered. "You're welcome," Elaine said cheerfully. "Also, your mom gets misty every single time someone asks about you." "Fuck twaddle, Elaine. Do you gotta say shit like that?" Della asked from the kitchen doorway. "I'm Lisa," the farm woman said quickly, probably trying to prevent Elaine from saying anything else wildly inappropriate. "Just came out, still figuring out all this queer stuff. Your mom's been real patient with my questions." "That's because she's good at explaining shit," Gizmo said, and there was something in her voice, acknowledgement maybe of capacities she'd forgotten I had. Mary finally moved from her position near the stairs, accepting the wine glass Miguel offered her, her usual, something crisp and white that she'd nurse for 2 hours. She drifted toward the far corner of the bar where the old leather couch sat in shadows, next to the jukebox that hummed quietly between songs. She settled into the worn cushions, not speaking, just present, creating a bridge between past and present, between the family we'd tried to build and the people we'd become after it shattered. "Mama R," Gizmo said, crossing the room, standing directly in front of me. "Can we talk?" "Yeah," I managed, voice thick with tears. The seriousness in her tone scared me, like I'd done something again, or something worse was going to happen. "Yeah, sweetheart, we can talk." Kira touched my shoulder once before moving away, and I followed Gizmo to the darkened corner a lone couch sat. The jukebox clicked, selecting its next song, and the bar fell into that particular kind of quiet that comes from people who understand when to listen and when to pretend they're not. Gizmo sank into the couch, tucking one leg beneath her, accepting the water Miguel appeared to place on the low table in front of us without asking. The darkness here felt merciful, softening the edges of everything. My daughter, my brilliant, complicated daughter who'd had to watch her mother destroy the stable world she'd known, who'd had to reconcile the father she'd thought she had with the woman who'd actually always been there. "I'm scared," she said finally. "Of what, sweetheart?" "That I don't know you anymore," Gizmo said. "That the person I thought was my dad is gone, and I don't know how to connect with who you actually are. That I'm going to say something wrong or hurtful, or that I'm going to fuck this up irreparably." "You can't fuck this up," I said, reaching for her hand across the bar. "I promise, sweetheart, you cannot fuck this up. You can't hurt me either. I'm your mom. I've always been your mom, even when I was pretending to be something else. That hasn't changed." "But everything else has," Gizmo said, and tears started tracking down her face. "You almost died. My uncle tried to kill you. Your body is held together with titanium and scar tissue. You're with Kira now. You live in a different house. You come to this place where everyone calls you Mom, and I don't even know half these people, and they know things about you that I don't know. They know the parts I was too ashamed to show you," I said quietly. "The broken parts. The parts that we're trying to survive. But they don't know the part that matters most. That you are the best thing I ever helped make." Mary, sitting not far away, was now starting to tear up. "This was a great thing that we did together. I wasn't about to fuck it more. That every single day I wake up and hope that you are doing okay. Then I feel that I would rather die than see you hurt." "You almost did die," Gizmo said. "Mary brought me to the hospital when he..." Her voice broke. "I thought I was going to lose you before I figured out how to be mom and kid again." Mary's hand found Gizmo's back, rubbing small circles the way she used to when Gizmo was small and scared of thunderstorms. "I'm still here," I said. "Stubborn as hell and too mean to stay dead." "That's what Bubba said when we called to check on you," Gizmo admitted. "He said you were tougher than boot leather and twice as bitter, and that you'd be back to writing everyone's stories before the bruises faded." I looked over at Bubba, who raised his beer in acknowledgement. Meant every word. Phil Collins, "Against All Odds," started bleeding through the speakers. That desperate plea about wanting someone back, about refusing to give up on connection even when it seems impossible. "I'm working on it," Gizmo said. "Trying to work through all this shit. It's a process. You know?" "You were a child," I said fiercely. "You were my child, and it was never your job to take care of me or understand me or make space for my truth. That's on me, sweetheart. All of that is on me." "But I could have done different," Gizmo said. "I could have tried harder. I could have..." "You did enough," I interrupted. "That's all I ever wanted. For you to survive and thrive and become this brilliant fucking person who's going to help people understand themselves. You did exactly what you needed to do." Phoenix appeared beside Gizmo, touching her shoulder gently. "Can I say something?" Gizmo nodded, wiping at her face. "I got kicked out when I came out," Phoenix said. "My parents chose their comfort over my existence. Your mom fought to stay in your life even when it would have been easier to walk away. That's not nothing. That's everything." "Phoenix's mom is trying to rebuild now," River added quietly. "After years of abuse and finally leaving. It's messy and complicated, and there's no manual for how to come back from that kind of fracture. But they're trying. That's what matters. The trying." Gizmo looked at me, really looked at me, and I saw her taking in the titanium holding my leg together, the scar on my neck from where John's hands had crushed my windpipe, the weight I'd lost and not gained back, the gray threading through my hair that hadn't been there 3 years ago. "You look tired, Mama R," she said softly. "I am tired," I admitted. "Tired of surviving, tired of fighting, tired of wondering if today's the day my body finally gives up. But I'm still here, and that counts for something. It counts for everything," Mary said quietly, speaking for the first time since they'd arrived. U2's With or Without You started playing, Bono's voice aching with the complexity of loving someone when everything's complicated, when you can't live with them and can't live without them. "I miss you," Gizmo said, and her voice broke completely. "I miss my parent. I miss talking to you about school and books and stupid shit that doesn't matter. I miss feeling like I could tell you anything. I miss knowing that you'd catch me if I fell." "I'm still here to catch you," I said, standing from my stool, moving around the bar with my fucked up gait, my titanium leg not quite bending right, my body a map of every way I'd tried to destroy myself before finally choosing to survive. "I'm always here to catch you, Abby. Always." "I'm sorry," Gizmo whispered against my shoulder. "Nothing to be sorry for," I whispered back. "You're here now. That's all that matters." "I want to know you," she said. "The real you. Not the version you thought I needed to see. The person who comes here and drinks with these people and writes their stories. I want to know her." "She's right here," I said, scared shitless and held together with spite, hatred, anger, fear, and titanium. But here. Bubba approached with Remy, both of them wearing expressions of profound relief. "Hey, Giz," Bubba said. "You know your mom used to bring you around all over when you were just young? Before everything got complicated." Renee draped a massive arm over Gizmo's shoulders. "You know what your mom tried to tell us when she was dying on that floor? When she could barely breathe and her ribs were broken and the words wouldn't come? She kept trying to say your name, kept trying to tell us to tell you she was sorry. Even then, bleeding out and barely conscious, you were all she could think about." Gizmo looked at me with something like awe. "How do you do that? How the fuck can you forgive the person who did that to you? How can you even talk to him?" "I don't," I admitted. "Not really. Honestly, I can't. But I try to understand them. Try to see the wounds that made them into weapons. Doesn't mean I excuse it. Just means I refuse to let hate consume me the way it consumed them." "That's very Buddhist," Sage said from their corner, not looking up from their napkin art. "The whole hurt people thing. Very Thich Nhat Hanh." "Very fucking exhausting is what it is," Elaine said, draining her rum mojito. "Your mom's too good for this world. Someone needs to tell her it's okay to be angry sometimes." "Oh, I'm angry," I said. "I'm furious. I'm rage incarnate. I just choose what to do with it." "And what do you choose?" Gizmo asked. "Writing," I said simply. "I write it all down. Every wound, every survivor, everyone who didn't make it. Because someone needs to remember we were here, that we fought, that we loved each other even when the world said we shouldn't exist." Lisa approached carefully, farm girl pragmatic but gentle. "Your mom helped me understand myself," she said to Gizmo. "Helped me see that coming out in your 60s isn't too late, that you can still build the life you were meant to have. That's a gift." "She has a lot of gifts," Mary said quietly. "Always has, even when she couldn't see them herself." The basement filled with music and conversation again, people giving us space while remaining present, creating a container for healing that didn't require performance or pretense. Miguel poured drinks. Della plated more bacon-wrapped dates. Phoenix and River returned to their corner booth. Ezra went back to their book. But everything had shifted. Some fundamental axis had tilted, creating new possibilities where before there'd been only distance. "Can I come back?" Gizmo asked. "Not like every week or anything. But sometimes?" "Sweetheart," I said, touching her face gently. "You're always welcome here. This is your home as much as mine. These people, they're your family too. They always have been. Even though I'm not queer." "Your family," Phoenix said with a grin. "That enough." "You're loved," Kira said, materializing beside me again. "That's how family works here. We claim the people we choose to keep." Gizmo looked around the basement, at the crimson walls and clean white ceiling, at the refurbished bar, and the community that had built itself from broken pieces, at the faces that loved her mother in ways she was only beginning to understand. "Okay," she said softly. "Okay, I can work with that." Indigo Girls' Power of Two started playing. Emily Salier's singing about the strength that comes from connection, from not having to face the world alone. We stayed until last call, Gizmo ensconced, learning names and stories, laughing at Elaine's increasingly inappropriate jokes, watching Phoenix and River be disgustingly in love, listening to Bubba and Remy dispense wisdom through their shared southern lens. Miguel kept the drinks flowing, Della kept the food coming, the music kept playing, classic rock bleeding through the speakers like a prayer for everyone who'd survived when they weren't supposed to. When Mary finally gathered her purse and keys, when Gizmo hugged me one more time before heading up the stairs, I stood at the bar with fresh tears tracking down my face and Kira's hand warm against my back. "That was good, Mom," Miguel said, collecting empty glasses. "Really fucking good." "It was a start," I said. "All the best things are," Della called from the kitchen. I finished my Blantons, let the burn settle in my chest, and thanked whatever fucked up gods were listening that I'd survived long enough to see this moment. My daughter choosing to come back, choosing to try, choosing to believe that the bridge between us could be rebuilt stronger than before. There is a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in. Leonard Cohen. Sometimes healing doesn't look like closure. Sometimes it looks like your bestie bringing your daughter to a queer bar in a refurbished basement, letting her see you as you actually are, scarred and titanium-held and loved by a family you built from discarded pieces. Sometimes it looks like your daughter crying in your arms and admitting she wants to know you, not the version you performed for 18 years, but the woman who's been clawing her way toward authenticity since before she had words for what she was becoming. Sometimes the wound, the fracture between who you were and who you are, becomes exactly the place where light floods in, illuminating not just your pain, but your capacity for love, for forgiveness, for showing up day after day even when every cell in your body screams for you to run. Gizmo walked back into my life through that wound, through the gap between past and present, and I finally understood what Cohen meant. That our brokenness isn't the end of our story, but the beginning of transformation. The place where we become more than we thought possible, held together not by what we've lost, but by what we've chosen to keep.